Welcome to Scare Archive, where the shadows whisper and the old myths still walk among us. Tonight, we're diving into something darker, something older than time itself. These are true stories shared by real people about witches. Not the kind from fairy tales, but the ones who live in the cracks of reality. The ones who hide in plain sight. The ones who remember your name, even if you've never met. We're not talking about Halloween costumes or fantasy lore. We're talking about real encounters with real magic. And sometimes, that magic wants something from you. It is important to emphasize that the Scare Archive channel does not intend to incite religious intolerance or promote prejudice against any spiritual practice, faith, magical tradition, or any other spiritual movement. These are real stories shared by those who have lived or believe they have lived these experiences without judgment or promotion of specific beliefs. We respect all religions, cultures, and spiritual paths. The goal here is to share fear, mystery, and the incomprehensible, not to promote hate or disrespect. If you seek understanding, healing, or connection with the spiritual, we always recommend seeking proper and well-intentioned guidance. Thank you for your understanding. So, turn off the lights, lock your doors, and listen closely. Because tonight, the witches are waiting. Let me start from the beginning. I was in college, studying biomedicine at the time, and things were going okay. Not perfect, but okay. I had a small circle of friends, nothing too big, but we stuck together. One of them was Wendy. Let's call her that. Someone I'd known since high school. We weren't super close, but we got along. We'd study together sometimes, share lunch, talk about relationships. She was always different. A little intense, a little too curious about things like spells, energy, and curses. But I never took it seriously. I figured it was just a phase. Looking back now, maybe I should have paid more attention. There was this guy in our class, engineering major. Nice enough guy, friendly, cute even. He flirted with everyone, honestly, including me. But here's the thing, he was dating her. They'd been together for a while. And yet, she hated that he even looked at me, even though I didn't reciprocate. Even though I was in a relationship with my girlfriend at the time. Still, she started acting weird around me, cold, distant, like I had done something wrong. But then, out of nowhere, she came back, all smiles, bringing gifts. One day, she shows up with this candy, a little pumpkin-shaped sweet, said it was homemade, said she made it just for me. Now, I'm not stupid. I knew she wasn't the kind of person to randomly give presents, especially not to me. But I was tired of tension, tired of feeling like I had to walk on eggshells around someone I used to consider a friend. So I ate it. The moment it hit my stomach, something was off. Not like a bad stomach bug, not nausea. This was deeper, like my body rejected it immediately. My head started pounding, my limbs felt heavy. I couldn't focus. I remember sitting there, trying to laugh it off, pretending it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. I went home that night and collapsed into bed. I couldn't sleep. My skin burned, my muscles ached. I felt like I was being pulled apart from the inside. The next morning, I barely had the strength to get up. I skipped class, then another, then another. My weight dropped fast. People noticed. Friends asked if I was okay. I blamed anemia, I blamed stress. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't normal. After weeks of getting worse, I finally told my mom. She looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "You need help." So she called my aunt, who's also a folk healer, someone who works with energy, prayers, and protection. When she saw me, she didn't ask questions. She just stared. Then she said, "Someone gave you something, didn't they?" I nodded. She sat me down, lit a candle, began praying, whispering words I didn't understand. And as she did, I felt something shift in my chest, like a pressure that had been building for weeks was finally starting to lift. She told me it was a curse, that someone wanted me to feel weak, to feel ugly, to feel unwanted, because that's what jealousy does. It doesn't just make people angry, it makes them dangerous. It was only after the cleansing that I confronted her, face to face, in the hallway between classes. She acted surprised, pretended innocence, but I could see it in her eyes, the guilt, the satisfaction. I told her what happened, how I got sick, how I almost lost everything. And do you know what she said? "Maybe now you'll understand what it feels like." Like she deserved to hurt me because she was hurting too. Like she thought this was fair. Like she didn't care that I nearly died. They say karma comes fast, and in her case, it did. A few weeks later, rumors started spreading. Her boyfriend, the one she was so obsessed with, cheated on her, right under her nose, with one of her closest friends. And not long after that, she started falling apart too. Mood swings, panic attacks, weight loss. She stopped coming to class, stopped talking to anyone. People whispered. Some said it was the curse bouncing back. Others said it was just life catching up. But I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in balance. I was close to my cousin Maya. We were kids around the same age, growing up in the same neighborhood. Our families lived near each other. She wasn't like the rest of us. She was always different, quiet, intense, always watching. Even as a child, there was something magnetic about her. You couldn't look away. Her maternal grandmother was known in the community. Some called her the witch of the neighborhood. Others said she was just eccentric, but I saw it firsthand. The way she whispered over candles, the way she read cards, the way people avoided crossing her. Maya grew up learning from her. Books on spells, rituals, protective baths. She started reading palms and tarot cards when we were still in school. It was cute at first, harmless, or so I thought. It happened right after her dad bought a new car, a luxury SUV, almost futuristic looking. Maya was proud of it, showed it off like it was a trophy. But one morning, we all woke up to chaos. Her car was scratched, badly, not just a few lines, deep, intentional marks. Someone had dragged something sharp across every panel, and they'd left a stone next to the car like a calling card. Everyone was furious. My aunt cried. There was a big investigation, but no cameras, no suspects, just anger. That night, Maya told me she dreamt of the person who did it, that she would make them pay. I laughed it off, thought it was just her being dramatic, but I should have listened. The next day, I was at the park with friends. Maya showed up out of nowhere. Her eyes looked different, darker, like she wasn't fully there. And then I saw Carla. Carla used to be her friend. They grew apart. Rumors said Carla was jealous of Maya's looks, her life. But now, Maya was staring at her like she was prey. In seconds, Maya lunged, grabbed Carla by the hair, slammed her to the ground. Everyone froze. "You really thought I wouldn't find out?" Maya hissed. "Your curse is already burning. You'll pay for this." We pulled them apart. Carla ran off, shaken. Maya just smiled. then walked home like nothing had happened. I remember standing there, chills running down my spine. Something was wrong. Very, very wrong. A week went by, nothing. Then 2. People stopped talking about the scratched car. Life moved on, except for Carla. First, she said she had a cold, then a virus, but soon she completely stopped going out. Her mother said she was bedridden. She couldn't move without pain. Doctors came. They couldn't explain it. Some said it was a bacterial infection eating away at her flesh. Others said it was stress, but none of it made sense. Then, she stopped answering calls, stopped responding to messages. One day, I went to visit her with 3 cousins. One of them was Maya. As soon as we entered her room, I smelled something like rotten meat, like death. Carla was lying on the bed, pale, emaciated. Her leg was blackened. Gangrene? Infection? I don't know. All I knew was that she looked like a corpse. When we left, I looked back. Maya was behind me. She leaned in close. "I hope you liked my gift," she whispered. Something clicked in my head. I don't want to believe it, but deep down, I knew. Later that day, Maya took me to a remote lot near our neighborhood. It was filled with dead animals, blood, candles, a clay bowl full of strange offerings. There was a frog, its mouth sewn shut, its eyes too. Inside its mouth, Carla's name written in red ink. "This is how she pays," Maya said. I wanted to tear it apart, to stop whatever was happening, but Maya stared at me, cold, unblinking. "Touch this, and I'll do 10 times worse to you," she said. "You don't know what I'm capable of." I believed her. 3 weeks later, Carla was gone. Official cause of death? Unknown. Some said sepsis, others said heart failure. But only Maya and I knew the truth. After that, I distanced myself. I moved away for college, never spoke to her again. But sometimes, late at night, I hear a knock on my door, see a shadow outside my window, feel a presence in my room. Sometimes, I wake up and find a small frog on my doorstep. I never tell anyone, because I know what happens when you cross someone like Maya. It was Halloween 2018. I was at a party with my boyfriend and one of his friends. Nothing too big, just a small get-together in someone's backyard. We had a few drinks, laughed, danced, normal stuff. At some point, I needed to use the bathroom. I asked my boyfriend to come with me just to keep me company. When I came out, there she was. A woman I'd never seen before. Late 30s maybe, tall, calm. She looked right at me like she already knew me. She started talking, not in that annoying party, small talk kind of way, more like she wanted to connect, to understand me. I listened, and honestly, I needed it. That night, I was feeling low, like I didn't belong anywhere. My self-esteem was crushed. I'd been thinking all day about how useless I felt. Not good enough, not pretty enough, not anything enough. And then she said something that stopped me cold. "You're beautiful," she told me. "You have gifts you don't even know yet." She gave me advice about confidence, about life, about seeing myself differently. And somehow it worked. I felt lighter, seen, understood. Then, out of nowhere, she said something that made my heart stop. "You were promised a doll once, a big one, but it never came, did it?" I froze. That moment, that promise from my father, happened when I was just 9 years old. Before he walked out of my life, before I moved cities, before I even understood what abandonment meant. How could she possibly know that? I didn't tell anyone, not even my boyfriend, not ever. So how did she know? When she mentioned the doll, I broke down, right there, in front of her. She hugged me, apologized, said she didn't mean to hurt me, that she just wanted me to let go of that pain. I told her it wasn't her fault, that it was just something I'd carried for a long time, something I thought I was hiding well. My boyfriend saw me crying. He held me tight. For a few minutes, I felt safe, held, like someone finally understood the weight I'd been carrying. But after that, I couldn't shake the feeling. Later that night, I went back to the bathroom again, wiped away the tears, tried to pull myself together. When I came back, two girls approached me, just chatting. One of them asked me what time it was. Something inside me just knew. Before I even looked at my phone, I said 2:40. They checked. It was exactly 2:40. They laughed, said, "Okay, witchy girl, are you sure you're not a little witch yourself?" I smiled. But deep down, I wasn't laughing. Because hours earlier, that same woman had told me I had powers I didn't even know about. And now, I was proving her right. The next day, I decided I wanted to learn more. About magic, about intuition, about whatever it was that had just happened to me. I bought books, watched videos, read about natural witchcraft. I tried to study, but honestly, I struggled. I didn't feel smart enough, focused enough, ready enough. I gave up after a few days. But I still think about it, about that night, about what she said, about how she knew things no one else should. Maybe it was just a weird coincidence, maybe I was projecting, or maybe I really do have something inside me waiting to be discovered. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll try again. It was late, around 1:15 a.m. Emily had just finished reading the Chronicles of Narnia and decided to go to sleep. Her family was already asleep. The house was quiet, peaceful. She turned off the lights but left on a string of blue LED lights around the room, the kind you hang up during Christmas. It gave the room a soft glow, enough to see everything clearly. She got into bed, pulled the covers over her head, and drifted off. Then, she woke up. Something woke her up. Not a sound, not a dream, just a feeling. That eerie sensation you get when you know someone is watching you, even though your eyes are closed. She opened her eyes slowly and saw it. The attic hatch, located right above her bed, began to creak open, like something was trying to come down. She shut her eyes tight, pulled the blanket over her head, tried not to move a muscle, but she could hear it. The hatch creaked open completely. Then came the sound of something dragging across the ceiling, like fingers against wood, scraping, slow, deliberate. Then, silence. A few seconds passed. And then, footsteps. Her floor was wooden, old, creaky boards, so when it stepped onto the floor, she heard every movement. Closer, slower, deliberate. It walked toward her bed, stopped, right there, in front of her. She couldn't breathe, couldn't move, but curiosity won. Very slowly, she opened one eye. What she saw made her open both eyes wide and freeze in pure terror. Standing beside her bed was an old woman, but not like any human being she'd ever seen. Her skin was cracked like dry earth after years without rain. Her face was deeply wrinkled, almost split open by deep lines. Her eyes were black, completely. No white, no pupil, just darkness. Her hair was matted, tangled and greasy, sticking to her face like cobwebs. And her mouth? It was open, unnaturally wide, like it wasn't attached to her jaw anymore. Rows and rows of tiny, sharp teeth, crowded, pointed, like she hadn't smiled in centuries. She wore all black, long, dark robes. Her fingers were long, too long, crooked, and her nails sharp as claws. She didn't speak, didn't move, just stood there, watching, breathing, heavy, labored, like an asthmatic wheezing through a broken lung. Emily knew she had to do something, fast. She closed her eyes again and started praying, over, out loud, whispered, screamed inside her head. The blood of Jesus has power. Nothing evil can touch me. Evil, leave this house in the name of Jesus. She repeated it like a mantra, again. Then, a sound, like a snap in the air, a crack, and then the witch screamed, a low, guttural hiss, like steam escaping a broken pipe. She heard it drag itself back to the attic, across the wall, up the hatch, and then the door slammed shut. Silence. Without thinking, she jumped out of bed and flipped on the lights. She didn't know where the courage came from, but she needed to cleanse the room. She lit sage, burned incense, walked around the room with salt, marking the corners, the doorways, the windows. She thanked God for protecting her, for saving her life. And since that night, she hasn't seen anything else. Emily says she used to be curious about Wicca, even explored it for a while, but after that night, she stopped completely. She believes the only true protection comes from faith, from prayer. She doesn't know who or what that thing was, or why it came into her room, but the word that keeps coming to her mind is witch. Not just any witch, one that felt ancient, malevolent, powerful. She shared this story because she wants to know, has anyone else seen something like this? Has anyone else encountered a being that feels so wrong? My name is Clara. I'm 35 now, but when this happened, I was just 3 weeks old. My grandmother, Donna, raised me after my parents refused to talk about what happened that night. She finally told me everything when I was older, in secret, said I needed to know the truth. Back then, we lived in a small farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. No electricity, just oil lamps and thick forest all around us. People in town whispered about witches living in the woods, said they came out at night to steal the breath of newborns. She didn't believe any of it until the night she saw one herself. It was cold, wind howling through the cracks in the windows. Donna was in the kitchen making dinner for my mother, who was still recovering after giving birth. My grandfather was in the living room reading, and I was asleep in my handmade crib, wrapped in knitted blankets. Then she heard it, a whisper. Not loud, not threatening, just off, like someone speaking backwards in a language she'd never heard. She went to check on me, pushed open the door, stepped inside, and there it was. The room was freezing, colder than the winter air outside. Standing over the crib, bent forward like an old tree, was a woman, or something that used to be. Her skin was pale, grayish, lifeless. Her eyes were completely black, no white, no pupil, just darkness. Her hands were long, thin, stretching toward me like claws. Donna didn't think. She screamed, lunged, pushed the creature away, and then it vanished, like smoke in the wind. When she looked back at me, I was barely breathing. My lips were blue, my skin cold, almost gone. She ran into the other room, screaming, shaking, but my parents hadn't heard anything, like they were under some kind of spell. She fell to her knees beside me, prayed, sobbed, called out to God, to saints, to anyone who would listen. And slowly, I came back, but not completely. I survived, but I was never the same.
I grew up fragile, easily scared, always distant, like part of me was taken that night. Doctors couldn't find anything wrong, just called it nervous energy, but my grandmother knew better. She says the witch got close enough to take something vital, not my life, but my strength. That night changed more than just me. After that, she couldn't look at the forest the same way, couldn't sleep without checking my crib 10 times a night, because she knew that thing was still out there. They say the forest has always been cursed, that the oldest trees remember things no one should. Old women who walk barefoot through the mud, who feed on the innocence of babies, who whisper names in the dark. She believes that thing came from me because I was new, because I was vulnerable. And she believes it's still waiting, watching, waiting for another child, another family, another crib.
That's it for tonight, folks. Hope these stories gave you that classic spine-chilling feeling. If you've ever felt something watching you from the dark, leave in the comments. If you've had an experience like this, something unexplainable, share it below. You're not alone. And if you want more nights like this, full of fear, mystery, and the unknown, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, because sometimes the scariest stories aren't fiction, they're real. Until next time.